Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Staci, and today our first story, kind of funny, is that Thanos, the villain from the new Avengers Infinity War movie, was evidently arrested by Toronto police. So that's it. You don't need to see Avengers Infinity War. No, I'm kidding. It's not actually the real Thanos because there is no real Thanos. Spoiler. But it was a man in a Thanos costume who a picture circulated around of him being arrested by Toronto police officers. And there wasn't much at first that came out with the story, just the picture, but people still had a lot of fun with it, saying, the Toronto police did what the Avengers couldn't, and that this was actually really fitting because Thanos is evidently arrested in the comic books as well. To which my response is, no, seriously, he's arrested? The guy with the crazy infinity gauntlet who's been this big baddie and we've been teasing him since the first Avengers movie, like we had to deal with him for so long. He was arrested in the comics? Okay, whatever. I don't read comics. But this Thanos was just a gentleman in a Thanos costume who decided to put the costume on and walk down the street just to sort of bring a smile to people's faces and or them to just be like, what the heck? But to sort of get their minds off of the Toronto van attack. He happened during this stroll. I saw one article that put it as a jaunty stroll. He happened during the stroll to run into a police officer who wanted to take a picture for his daughter. And they decided together that, oh, hey, we should take this picture of him being arrested because that makes total sense and is absolutely plausible. But so yes, it wasn't revealed at first, but this was a staged photo, I guess you would say. But it did give a lot of people on social media a lot of laughs, giggles, and sort of quippy comments. It also then led to a lot of spoilers for Avengers Infinity War. So if you hadn't already seen Avengers Infinity War, you couldn't really find out what was going on with this photo in any of the articles because they all had spoilers for Avengers Infinity War. I'm not going to spoil that here as well. But yeah, just know, I don't think it's a spoiler to say he's not arrested in the movie because otherwise why would we care so much about this photo? So yes, non-spoiler, Thanos is not arrested. There, you still don't need to see Avengers. No, I'm kidding. Avengers Infinity War wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad film. You can hear me talking about it on the movie podcast, but as this is the social media podcast, I will move on. So another strange sort of, I'm not quite sure how this happened thing is that John Travolta was caught, quote unquote, dad dancing during a 50 Cent performance at the Cannes Film Festival. There's a whole lot with that sentence that I'm just like, what? So evidently John Travolta has a film at the Cannes Film Festival, and 50 Cent, I believe, has a song or did the soundtrack or something and was performing at some event after the showing of this film, to which John Travolta decided that the proper response to that was to get up on the stage with 50 Cent and dance. That's not terrible. It's your film and he's performing for your film. So sure. Okay. However, his dancing to this song, A, doesn't quite match the song, but then B is also a little, they call it dad dancing, and it kind of does feel like that, like the sort of embarrassing dance your dad might do at your wedding or something, and you just be like, oh my God, Dad, stop, people are watching. But a lot of people on social media were commenting about this because it's just like, wait a minute, this is John Travolta, you know? This is the man who did Grease and Saturday Night Fever and even Pulp Fiction. Like, you've danced in a number of, and Hairspray, like, you've danced in a good number of films. Why can you suddenly all of a sudden not dance? You shouldn't be able to not dance. That should not be possible. What is this? So people were talking about, was this on purpose, or just, can he really not dance outside of film? Some people were talking about, well, this is a sign that he's gotten older. Someone wrote that Travolta should serve as an irrevocable evidence that we all eventually dance like awkward old white men. No, we don't. No, we don't all do that. But yeah, just as you get older, you lose the groove. And now I'm thinking of his new groove. Don't throw off the groove. Sorry. But yeah, it's not terrible. It's just not, like, I think if it was anyone but John Travolta, if it was someone who was not known to have ever really been good at dancing at all, this would have just been like, well, yes, of course, you all do the strange, awkward, can't really dance sort of dance. But because it was John Travolta, who has been in a number of films that actually involved dancing, it was just sort of, we don't know what to do with this. This is not the John Travolta we know of. This shouldn't be any John Travolta whatsoever. Are you sure this is John Travolta, and what has happened to him? So, yeah, on the one hand, awkward dancing is awkward, hence the name. On the other hand, awkward dancing can be funny or cute or lovable at times. Watching the video for this, it's kind of funny when 50 Cent looks over at John Travolta dancing, and the look on his face just sort of looks like, A, what are you doing? But B, then also, well, of course, that's how you dance. So this is one of those where it's sort of just, he's not terrible and he's not my father, so I'm not too embarrassed about it, but perhaps others might be. So we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. Our second story today is kind of related to the new Star Wars film, and yet kind of unrelated to the new Star Wars film, or indirectly related or tangentially related or something, in that Lando Calrissian may get his own movie. So, if you don't know who Lando Calrissian is, I'm not sure how much help I can give you, because there's a lot then you're kind of missing. But the new Star Wars film, Solo, about the sort of beginnings of Han Solo, is not out officially, but is out enough for reviewers to have seen it. And it is not getting a good review. It's not even mixed. It's just sort of lukewarmish. But one of the things a number of reviewers have said is that Lando Calrissian, played in this film by Donald Glover, has a really good performance. Or I guess I should say Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian is a really good performance. It's one of the few things they are actually praising about the film. And Solo had a number of troubles during the making of it. But even from the trailers, Donald Glover is doing a wonderful Billy D version of Lando, sort of smooth, but also kind of greasy, but that's sort of like not drawly way of talking, because he's not drawling at all, but almost rolling things around in his mouth sort of way of talking. I'm going to stop talking about that because I clearly don't know how to describe it. So a reporter asked Lucasfilm studio chief Kathleen Kelly about this. Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kelly is a different movie. And she said she would love to have a Lando-focused movie. But then they kind of had to backtrack on that because that was published and people were like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a Lando film. We're going to have a Lando film, which actually sounds great. Like, I'd love to see a Lando film and how Lando started and his whole thing, because clearly he's got an interesting backstory because he's just an interesting character, period. But Lucasfilm did feel the need to clarify and say that while they would love to devote a spinoff to Lando, that film has not actually been confirmed and will not be next, aka is not at all planned for the whatever number of Star Wars films we currently have in the works. It's possible that we may indeed get a Lando film, just because, more so than anything else, Donald Glover. Again, haven't seen the new Han Solo film because it will not be out until the 25th. So depending on when you're listening to this, maybe it's out. Maybe it's been out for a while, depending on when you're listening to this. But as of this recording, it is not out yet, and I do not have the inside scoop to see it in advance. But he's getting a good amount of praise for Lando. And then, of course, on the musical side, his alter ego, his stage name, his whatever you want to call it, Childish Gambino, with his song This Is America, has also been getting a lot of buzz. So Donald Glover is just in the news and on people's minds quite a bit right now. There's been a good number of comments that he's quote unquote a genius because he's managed to do all these things from TV and film, but also movie. According to his Wikipedia page, and it must be true because it's Wikipedia, he is an actor, comedian, writer, director, record producer, singer, songwriter, rapper, and DJ. He was, I believe, on the Times 100 most influential persons list last year. He's won a number of awards. It's just he's doing a lot, and he's going to be in the new Lion King film, and it's just he's definitely sort of in the public's mind right now, and will be, it seems, for at least a little while. So of course it would make sense for Lucasfilm to sort of grab onto that, seize onto that, and make a Lando film, especially since Solo was such a troubled thing, and Lando, the performance of Lando, is one of the few things that is actually being praised for it. But of course, it takes a number of years just to make any film, but especially the Star Wars films, because they're such big productions. They involve so many people and so many things that have to be designed and made, and technology-wise, and all the special effects. So it would definitely be many years, definitely at least a few, till that could even be made, and probably a few more than that because it's not currently in the plans. However, I don't know. I'm excited. I would definitely want to see a Lando film. Like I said, I think that character is interesting, and I was a little upset in the original trilogy that we didn't really get anything with him. It's like, okay, we knew Han was a smuggler, and we knew Luke's background and Leia's background, and we know Han knows Lando, but then what? How does Han know Lando, and how did Lando become the mayor, whatever, of Clouds? What? how did you get here? You just sort of randomly appear, and great, we use you as a character, but no, how did you get here? So that would definitely be cool. But on the same token, one of the things that people have been talking about with Solo not being considered that great of a film is that maybe not even that people are tired of Star Wars films, that maybe the studio is, they called it sort of like franchise fatigue, and that maybe all the original ideas that we've had to make Star Wars as great as it is, we've kind of run out, or we're running out of steam, or we don't quite know what to do next. And because we've started spreading out into, it's not just this one storyline, but we started doing like Han Solo. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that pun. That really wasn't intended. Into Han's film, and then the Rogue One film, and all these sort of side connected but not directly connected films, that maybe it's sort of stretching the franchise too thin, or stretching the studio too thin, or it's just there's only so many original ideas you can do with a franchise. I don't know if that's the case. I'll try not to talk too much about it because, again, this is not the movie podcast, but I think I have said before, I am not a fan of sequels just for sequels, because the first or second or third or whatever number sequel we were on was a really big hit and made a lot of money. So, hey, let's repeat that. Please don't. It works much better, and you're going to have a much better chance of actually earning all the money you think you're going to earn if you actually have like a decent story to go along with it, or any story, or just a plan beyond just, oh, let's make more money. So on the one hand, cool, Lando movie. That sounds great. Sounds like it could be one of the most interesting things in the, 2, 3, 5 years, whenever from now it might actually happen. But on the other hand, I'm already worried enough about what you're doing with the main numbered films. I don't know that you, Lucasfilm and Disney, and the whole complicated connection of different studios involved with this have, I almost want to say enough gas in your gas tank, but like just have enough mojo to make that well. And if you're not gonna make it well, kind of please don't, because at least with Lando not having his own film right now, he still has this sort of mysterious, interesting aura about him, and people can kind of imagine what they want. And given how well Donald Glover's doing in his own career, there's still a lot of positive feeling that can go along with it, as, oh, he's Donald Glover, but he's also Lando, and Lando is him, and they're both amazing in all these different ways. So you still have this really positive feeling towards that character, but then if you make a film that's not that great, it would just go downhill. So positive news, but questionable news. But cool, maybe, possibly, who knows? So we're going to take another short break, and I'm going to try and figure out how I feel about this, so stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back. I still haven't made up my mind, but that's okay. I'm going to move on. Our final story today, it being May and the end of the school year and people are graduating, is senior pranks. And there was quite an amazing one pulled off in Cumberland, Wisconsin, where the students set up what appeared to be a car crashed through a brick wall. And actually, when I first saw this picture, my first thought wasn't, oh my gosh, what an amazing prank, but oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. You crashed a car through your school wall? That's extreme. What were you doing? But that's because that's how believable it looked. It looked, on first view in the picture, it looks like we really crashed a car through the brick wall. And I'm just like, oh, you are in so much trouble. But then if you look closer, you can see, no, it's not actually crashed through the wall. They put up a black tarp, which feels almost sort of Acme-ish of let's put up the black hole and that actually becomes a tunnel sort of thing. They somehow cut a car body kind of in half so that they could put it there, and they had their own bricks. They didn't take any of the bricks from the brick wall. The brick wall is standing just as it was. But it looked so believable that even the police in Cumberland praised it as one of the best senior pranks. And it really was. And I can understand why the police were called, because it really does look like you actually crashed a wall. So someone please call the police. That's at very minimum vandalism, but also just a lot of trouble and money wise. But this is, of course, sort of the season of senior pranks, and they varied from just sort of filling offices with balloons or streamers. There were a few I saw that seniors did with plastic cups, sometimes used to sort of spell out things, but often just sort of used to make it difficult to walk to wherever you're going. And you kind of wonder, like, how do the teachers and administration feel about senior pranks? Because some of them, they clearly, they got the joke, they laughed along with it, they thought it was great. With others, it was just sort of like, I have to clean up this mess. Gee, thanks. Awesome. There was one I saw I thought was actually pretty cute because it was on a pun, is in the classroom, all the chairs were put on the desk and then they were all wrapped in saran wrap, and they had written a note that said wrapping up this year. And I was like, I get it. But also, well done with puns. If you can do a senior prank with a good pun, I think, sort of extra bonus points for you. I did not participate in my senior year, and actually don't fully know. I don't really know who was involved in the senior prank. There was one. I can't quite remember what it was, because the senior pranks I remember were not my senior year. They were the year before, and possibly either my year or the year before that. There were two I definitely remember because they weren't really pranks. They were really kind of more vandalism, which was why I had this super strong reaction to the picture of the car and the brick wall, because it's just like, don't do vandalism. If you're going to do a senior prank, it really should be something that can be cleaned up without having to call in like special crews or specialists, I guess, or the cops, and doesn't involve anyone putting themselves in sort of life-threatening situations to undo the prank. Like, I think I remember something about people put things on the roof of like a two-story building. And I'm just like, no, don't do that. Because unless you're going to be the person who goes and gets whatever it is off that roof, you are definitely putting someone either in danger or having to spend a lot of money to undo whatever you did. So like at my high school, there was one year, I think, where people did just sort of toilet paper the campus, and that wasn't too bad. But then there was one year where they put zip ties on the lockers, and that kind of ruined it for everybody, because there had already been some contention about the lockers. I can't remember what exactly, but the school was already sort of, should we have these lockers? And then with the zip ties, they were like, no, maybe these lockers are more trouble than they're worth. And so they took the lockers out, which really sucked for me because I had a lot of books, and it would have been much better to, have the lockers to put the books in and to leave the books if I didn't need to take them home for homework. But instead I had to now lug these books back and forth every day. And it was just like, thanks, whoever that was who decided that was your senior prank. That was really, really just something. It's just really great job there. And then again, I can't remember if it was my senior year or a different year. They put like super glue or something in the door locks so that the teachers couldn't get in. And fine, I get the thought process behind that joke of, haha, we all hate school, so we don't want the teachers to get into their class. And if they can't get in, we don't have to go to school. They can't teach us, so we're all free. No, that's not how that works. And it actually ended up, sort of costing money to get all those fixed and to get into the classes. And it wasn't like classes were canceled that day. They just were delayed. And so it was just like, great. So not only did you cost the school money, and we're all kind of being looked at like we're in trouble and who did this. And I think maybe the cops were called on that. I'm not sure. But now I still have to go to school and I don't have enough time for this one class. And so everything's just be, if not wise, be considerate, I guess, with senior pranks. And both of those words feel sort of oxymoronic to go with senior prank. I get that, senior year, about to graduate, about to be free, quote unquote free. I didn't actually hate high school, so I wasn't of that thought process of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get out of here. But sure, for those of you who are like, yes, most definitely done with high school, let's go. Fine. And if you want to sort of have a senior prank to lighten the mood near the end of the year and or to leave your mark, I can't say I guess that's your right, but I guess it's a tradition somewhat, so somewhat understandable if you do want to do that. But still, it shouldn't ruin things for everybody. And it shouldn't cause more long-lasting trouble for anybody, or your school shouldn't cost your school a whole lot of money. Like, there's a difference between, the janitor has a bit of extra work to clean up all the toilet paper, or the teachers have to pick up all the paper cups, or I saw one where they put Post-its over like everything in the teacher's office. Okay, that's fine. A bit of a hassle, and depending on their sense of humor, may be really annoying, but not damage, vandalism, whatever. And it helps really if you are thinking outside the box. Those Wisconsin kids with the car, that was great. That was amazing. I'd like to shake the hand of whoever came up with that idea of, hey, you know what we should do? Let's fake a car crash. Sort of emphasis, though, on the word fake. Don't do a real car crash. Do not try and up these kids by literally crashing a car into the school. That's definitely cause for the cops, and they will arrest you for that. But just, I don't know. I was sort of on senior things. I didn't do senior ditch day, partly because I didn't have a car, and so where would I go anyways? It's not like I can get, places very easily without a car where I live. But also I was just like, oh, what's the point? I don't hate high school, and it's not like I'm dying to get out of here, although I did totally have like senioritis from like 10th grade, so I don't quite know how that worked. But yeah, whatever it is, I do hope all the class of 2018 seniors had a good time, had fun, graduate, go off and do great things. I know everyone always says at graduations to like go off and make the world a better place. And I think the fact that everyone keeps saying that means it hasn't happened yet. So by all means, class of 18, if you feel that you can go off and make the world a better place and actually do it, I'm not mad at you. But other than that, it'd be nice if we could just sort of skip the pranks, I think. And not just for the teachers and not just for the administration, because depending on how you do it, it's also really annoying for the rest of your fellow students. And even, I mean, on the one hand, you are, roughly 1/4 of your school. There are 3 other classes that now have to deal with whatever you've set in motion. Gee, thanks. We're totally going to remember that class with fond feelings. But also even with the regular seniors, if, you're not part of that group that wanted to put on the prank, if you just want to get through however many days are left and get out of here, or if you actually like school, a bad senior prank can just sort of ruin everything. So all I'm saying is prank with caution, prank with prudence. I like alliteration, so let's go with prank with prudence. And on that really bad note, we're going to end for today. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.